So in this video we are going to continue on with the work that we did from factorising in the foundation and higher tier video, but we're going to look at examples that are specifically on the higher tier paper only. So these questions are specifically questions where your coefficient of x squared is bigger than 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And that's when we're looking at factorising into double brackets. So like with our previous examples of factorising into double brackets, we're still going to follow the same method of finding two numbers that add to make 7 and subtract to make, or multiply, sorry, to give us negative 15. So I'm going to do the same thing, write down my factors of 15, so 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. But straight off the bat, you can see that none of those are going to give me a sum of 7. And this is where the coefficient of x squared comes into play. So when you open up your brackets, you're not just going to write x and x, you need to think about what you can multiply to get your coefficient of x squared. So in this case, that's going to be 2. The only way that we can multiply to get 2 is by 2 and 1. So we're going to have 2x in this bracket and then x in this bracket. Obviously, again, it doesn't matter what order your brackets are in. It's usually easier to put your largest coefficient on this side, but it generally doesn't really matter. So now, what this means is if you think about however you expand brackets, whether you do the grid method or the FOIL method, whatever it might be, whatever this number here is going to be, it's going to get multiplied by 2x. So whatever factor you put here is going to get doubled. That will then allow us to make 7 in some way. Well, you can do trial and improvement. So you can think, right, if I do 1 multiplied by 2, that's 2, 2 and 15, I can't make 7 that way. If I multiply 15 by 2, that's going to make 30, 30 and 1, I can't make 7. So I can rule out this factor term. If I look at 3 and 5, for example, 2 multiplied by 3 is 6, 6 and 5 are not going to make 7. But if I multiply 5 by 2, that's going to give me 10, and 10 and 3 can make 7. So because I want to multiply the 5 by 2 to get 10, the 5 has got to go into this opposite bracket here. So I'm going to put my numbers in first, so 5 and then 3 has obviously got to go here. Then you can think about where you place your signs. Because we've got, this is quite a difficult one actually, because we've got the multiplying is giving us the negative number, our signs have to be different, because to multiply to make a negative number you need to have one positive and one negative. Because I want to make positive 7, I need to think, do I want to do 10 minus 3 or 3 minus 10? Because it's going to be positive 7, this is the sum that I want to do. So I need the 10 to be positive, and because I'm multiplying 2 by 5 to get 10, this is the bracket that I want to be positive, and I want the 3 to be negative. Again, like I mentioned in the other video, you can expand these brackets here to check that you've got the right answer. So I do the grid method, so I'll quickly do that here just to show for this one. So 2x minus 3 and then x plus 5. 2x multiplied by x is 2x squared, minus 3 multiplied by x is minus 3x, 2x multiplied by 5 is 10x, and negative 3 multiplied by positive 5 is negative 15. 2x squared, 10x minus 3x is 7x, and then we've got minus 15 on the end, so we know that we've factorised this one correctly. So another example for you, so we've got 5x squared minus 13x minus 6. So although we've still got a negative number here on the end, we're going to have a negative value here as well. So we're still looking for two numbers that add to make negative 13 and then multiply to give us negative 6. So again, I'm going to write out my factors of 6. So I've got 1 and 6, and then 2 and 3. So I'm going to look at my factor pairs, and already I'm going to eliminate 1 and 6 because I'm not going to multiply them by 5, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to make 13 with the numbers that I've got. Because we've got 5x squared, and again, because it's a prime number, the only way that we're going to make 5x squared is by having 5x and x. Now, there's a specific reason why I've chosen this question, because when you think of your numbers, you could actually multiply 5 by 2, so that will give you 10. 10 and 3 are going to make 13. However, if I do 5 multiplied by 3, that gives me 15. 15 and 2 also make 13. So this is why you have to be really, really careful at your signs, because the signs that you've got are going to help you decide which factor you need to multiply by 5. So again, some of you will be able to look at this and just be able to spot, oh, this is the one that needs to get multiplied by 5, and this is how I'm going to do it. Some people, they have to think about it a little bit, and it's absolutely okay to write some notes to figure out which one you're going to choose. So we know that because we've got a minus number on the end here, that we're going to have different signs. So one's going to be positive and one has to be negative. So if we, for example, multiply 5 by 2, which gives us 10, the only way that I'm going to be able to make 13 would be 10 add 3, or minus 10 minus 3. So if I multiply the 5 by 2, both of my signs would have to be the same, which in this case isn't going to work because I need to make minus 6 and not positive 6. If I think about 5 and 15, 15 and 2, the way that I'm going to make 13 here is by having a difference. So whether it's 15 minus 2 or 2 minus 15, that's how I'm going to get 13. So in this case, I need to multiply the 5 by 3 to get 15 and leave the 2 here. Now, because I want negative 13, am I going to do 15 minus 2 or 2 minus 15? Well, 15 minus 2 is going to give me positive 13, so I don't want that. So this is the order that I need. So because I need the 15 to be negative, this bracket here is going to be negative and the 2 will need to be positive. And again, you can expand your brackets like we did in the last one to check that that works. In this last example that we are going to do together, this is arguably one of the most, if not the most difficult factorising question that you could get asked. Because in this case, we're still looking for two numbers that add to make 11 and multiply to make minus 10. But in difference to the other ones, this coefficient of x squared, which is 6, you can do 6 multiplied by 1, which is obviously what we did for the other ones because they were prime, but you can also do 2 multiplied by 3. So with the other examples, yes, you've had to consider what factors you're going to choose on this side, but you also need to think carefully about what number is going to go in front of the x in your brackets. So I've written down my factors of my x squared coefficient. I'm going to do the same to 10, so 1 and 10, and then 2 and 5. And again, some of people will be able to look at this and spot what the factors are straight away, but it's absolutely okay if you can't do that. So again, we know it's going to be a double bracket question, and then I would start with 6 and 1, because if that does work, that's the easiest one, because you've only really got to multiply one number by 6. So again, trial and improvement. So 6 and 1, 6 and 10 is not going to make, obviously 60 isn't going to work, so that factor isn't going to work, but I'm not going to eliminate it straight away, because it might work if we choose 2 and 3. So if I try 6 and 1 with 2 and 5, so 6 2s are 12, 12 and 5 aren't going to make 11, 6 5s are 30, so that's not going to make it. So I know that 6 and 1 is not the factor pair that I want for my coefficient of x. So it's going to be 2 and 3. So now we're going to do 10 and 1 again. So 2 multiplied by 1 is 2, 10 and 2 aren't going to make 11. 2 multiplied by 10 is 20, 21 obviously aren't going to make 11 either. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3, 3 and 10 aren't going to make 11, and then 30 and 1 are definitely not going to make 11. So I can eliminate that factor pair. So I know that I'm going to have 2 and 3 before the x, so I can put those in straight away if I want to. And I know it's going to be 2 and 5, but I've got to figure out which way around it's going to go. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, and then 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. 4 and 15 will make 11 in some way, because obviously my signs have got to be different as well, but I just want to double check that the other way around isn't going to work either. So if I did 3 multiplied by 2, which is 6, and 2 multiplied by 5, which is 10, that isn't going to make 11. So I know I want to do 2 multiplied by 2, which is 4, and because I want to multiply 2 by 2, I need them to be in the opposite bracket. So I want to have 2 on this side, and then because I want to multiply 3 by 5 to get 15, I need the 5 in this opposite bracket. I like to get my numbers sorted first, then decide on the signs. So I know they've got to be different. I want to make negative 11. So again, I need to think, do I want to do 15 minus 4 or 4 minus 15? Because I want to make negative 11, this is the factor pair that I'm going to choose. So I want 4 to be positive, which is going to be the 2, because it's going to get multiplied by 2. So that sign is going to be positive, and that sign is going to be negative.